Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use GOLD5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.
Rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but oh, you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum is a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
I'm going to get destroyed. But if I can still be standing on my feet, then life isn't so bad.
Somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. You know who you are. What you're made of. Let me tell you something you already know. The The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Look, I'm exhausted. Had it all figured out and I lost it. They say that's the cost, but it just feels like a lot. Stop, are you going or not? I miss certainty. Miss the 9 to 5s, knowing exactly where I need to be and why I'm not built for this. Progress moves in slow motion. They're out making money and getting promotions, saying all the right things, pulling all the right levers. While I sit here, write my future self love letters. Who's winning? Is this the end or beginning? 'Cause I'm starting to feel like reality's slipping, and bank accounts, they aren't very forgiving, and life on edge feels like falling, not living. If effort brings victory, what am I missing? Nothing good comes easy. When we have to, we push through, not knowing completely. You're here because you're made for this next level, taking these places that most people won't. Start embracing it. Who cares what they do? They're not you. You'll go through more now than you think you're supposed to, but that shows you can cope with the highs and the lows, because you rose to be more. Could have run away, could have avoided the thorns, could have been comfortable. Blood, sweat, and tears, they're expendable. No more pretending, man, build something memorable. Don't drink from their cup or by stories they tell, because when all their time's up, you'll have dug your own well. You didn't use lifelines, you're topped off for a lifetime. So drop all those one-liners, we'll get them next time. No, this time is your time, and whatever you decide will end up being real life. No stop signs, just storylines. This whole thing is a misunderstanding, a miscalculation. Jumped and missed the landing. I'm mystified, I can waste so much time. These ovations are strictly imagination, not standing. So much for planning, guess fate left without me. Those failure statistics, yeah, they'll be about me. Was overly optimistic, forgot the logistics. Guess we all learn sometime, don't we? Good is not good enough. No, how long do I stay down before I let go? I buried my pride and took it inside, but never enough. It takes a toll, it gets old getting told you've got miles of road left to go. You're alone with this future unknown. Just go home. Just go home, it's safe there. Yeah, I'll find some embrace there. Look, it's time to admit defeat. A humble retreat, check the box and complete to my core. Intrinsically, it's not for me, I can't do this. I knew this is how it would be. No fame, no fortune, no names on marquees. Just running in place every day on repeat. This is the world I wanna see, where everything's taken with no guarantees. No. Come on, man, pick your head up. Go back inside, half a life's learning to get up. How can I make you see that you have everything you need, and what you want to be is never out of reach? Fate deceives sometimes, but destiny's calling, so can't let the phone ring. You know there's no all-knowing. Go level up, no letdowns. Let the world in, push fear out. It's self-belief, it starts right now. When hell freezes, you lay down. But until then, it's your town, it's your story, it's your crown. Live in the clouds, feet on the ground. They stand still, you run around. Go mesmerize, or they socialize. There's dollar signs to be maximized. If you live it right, regret nothing. Loud applause, the sweetest sounding. This moment won't happen again, and never becomes forever unless you choose to begin. So see greatness in each step, and power in progress. Your future, yeah, that's limitless, it's infinite. Don't forget you want this.
The champ is here! 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 The champ. Good morning and welcome to Boom Markets Talk Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually today's show, and I'm sure you guys are sitting in when you look at the heading or the title of the show, then you think like, hey, what the hell is going on here? I'm not trying to be optimistic because this is something that I did write about a few years ago with the Ultimate Depression. Well, I knew that a depression would come or something weird would occur. Like, luckily it was now the COVID-19 story. But South Africa was on the trajectory of a bad
a bad depression, and we are actually in it, with the GDP numbers of negative 51 quarter over quarter. And year on year, it looks even terrible. So South Africa is literally, for years now coming, under the Zuma administration and now under Cyril Ramaphosa's administration, things were looking terrible after the great years of Thabo Mbeki. Not the best years, but far, far, far more better if you look at the statistics under Thabo Mbeki. Now, the thing is, where I came up with a trajectory of six rand to the US dollar. Well, I will actually explain all of those things of how did I get there. But in the book, The Ultimate Depression, that is where I actually emphasize on things will be bad. The cost of labor will definitely decrease. Things will become terrible in South Africa. South Africa will become more nasty to one another, especially with the racism story, and which I did say into the book. The country will become extremely divided, and it will just get worse and worse and worse. So, but the main thing is, so a correction is needed in these circumstances. Now, the COVID-19, everybody's now blaming COVID-19 and all of those things, but a correction was about to happen. And it was just now COVID-19 that actually gave that correction. Now, the thing is, the word correction means actually a correction. So things needs to come right. It was bad. Things need to shift in a good direction. That's why we got a correction. Now, the point is, will we see this as a correction? That is the main story. Now, in the book, The Ultimate Depression, I do explain there that South Africa can become the next superpower. And I don't see actually any other country with all the ingredients to become a next superpower. Now, the bad story about Africa is that most African nations, or I will not say most, the vast majority of countries in Africa don't ever recover from a correction. So you have the correction, and then things are just getting worse, like in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, Nigeria. It just go on and on and on. So then things never recover. So Africa has a history of that. But if you look at this whole entire story of Africa, and what I actually looked at, is that the main thing, there comes a correction, and in all research that I did, with most countries, if I look at Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, Angola, Nigeria, even Sudan, Algeria, that I looked at, there comes a correction, but it never materialized, the correction. Now, there's one reason, like in Zimbabwe, like for all of them, but if I just now take Zimbabwe out, because that one happened recently, even Venezuela has the same problem. But when a correction comes, it just exacerbates to extreme poverty. So basically, we are now sitting at the point of two roads now. Is or we're taking the right route, or we're taking the wrong route. So we're basically at the crossroads now. There's no way in hell. If we don't take the right route now, it's finished. If we do take the right route, we will get actual prosperity. Now, it's all we make this decision right, or we are done. Then basically you can pack up and go. Now, the reason why I say that is that we can't make more mistakes now. It's at that point where we have to say, you can't anymore, we have to get it right. Now, I know now politicians, and you have, which is very weird to me, you have politicians that come out, you have economists that come out, and quite a lot of economists actually in South Africa that comes in the news after now this massive contraction that we had. All of them talking about stimulating the economy. If you switch on the radio, stimulate the economy. Now, all of them talking about stuff, and if you look at the data when it comes to stimulus, and I did this on the show before, if you look at the history of stimulus packages in South Africa and across the world, where do you look at Europe, and I always explain this also, and I just had a show yesterday about the European Union, where you look at stimulus, for example, they say, they're going to put money into the economy. Did it materialize? The answer is no. In South Africa, it's the same story. Under Zuma, there was a lot of stimulus. In Sir Ramaphosa, we already have over a trillion of stimulus. Nothing materialized. Now, we can't have more stimulus packages with what money? Now, on top of that, say, for example, South Africa do get the stimulus package, and we have now another round of stimulus. The problem is, who's going to benefit out of that stimulus packages? Now, one thing we're all going to say, now, it is corruption. Let's exclude corruption for today with the stimulus package. So the stimulus packages come, it goes to the banks need to borrow us money, it goes to the South African government now, and they need also to stimulate from the fiscal side and also from the banking side. Right. If you look at the banking side in South Africa, so they need to stimulate there to give business and entrepreneurs now money to actually to expand the business or to gain startups. The problem with South Africa, there is high unemployment rate. So which means most of South Africans, or even the vast majority of South Africans, are not credit worthy. That is the first point. Second point, you have the impairment rate, which means the deterioration of creditness, which is through the roof. And it started already in 2017, and you just see how the graph just go up and up and up. So which means if you stimulate the economy via the banks, definitely the people that really want to start up businesses will not see a cent. So this money will definitely just go to your big corporates with low interest rates, and the inequality will just increase, and then you will just have more problems. So that will definitely not work. You can't even get a personal loan because your credit is not good enough. So that way of stimulating will definitely not work. So let's look at it from the government's point of view. Government is going to use it in fiscal spending. So what they're going to do, as what they did for all these years, I said exclude corruption. Build infrastructure. All right. So you build infrastructure for what? Because you can't have money for small businesses which coming from the banking side. And if the government do push the criteria out to say they will fund small businesses, you still need your credit worthiness. Because nobody's going to borrow someone money without good credit. Because obviously you don't understand something, how money works. That's why you have bad credit. So obviously you can't be trusted if the government or the banks need to give you money. So definitely you have two blockages there because of high unemployment and bad credit, because people can't pay back the credit, obviously, because of the situation today. So the way of stimulating the economy will definitely not work. And then obviously, if we put now corruption in, then we'll just exacerbate the whole story. So in the first instance, stimulus will not work. On the second part, South Africans have bad credit. And on top of that, because you have a high unemployment rate, your pool of gaining revenue, or people buying your products or services, is small. Now that is now the other problem as well. Because you can have products out and all of those things, but who the hell is going to buy from you? Because the half of the working age people are unemployed, or more than half of the working age people are unemployed. So your pool shrink, whatever business you start. So you're bound to fail. So what the hell do you do now to get to that part of glory? And how, if we can't stimulate the economy, what the hell do you do? Now that is the big thing that government needs to discuss itself, because they can't come with the same story over and over and over again. Now the big problem with Africa and South Africa, it has nothing to do with the people. Nothing. It's all to do with government. Government in Zimbabwe, Algeria, Angola, all the countries that I did research in, if it gets to that point of correction, then they become desperate. Because they want to stay in power. So they will use any sort of thing, rhetoric, whatever story they're going to use, and try to convince the majority of the people to be on their side. And that is where the whole thing goes wrong. It happened in Zimbabwe. When the government stole so much money that they literally depleted the government's resources. They became so desperate and chased after the land. because that is what the people were asking for. Why is the inequality in the world in Zimbabwe so high? So they went for the land and for the Reserve Bank, and that's gone. The same applies to Zambia. The same applies to Nigeria. All over Africa, the liberation movements normally, the liberation movements become so desperate, and they go back of what the false promises that they made the people in the first instance, and then they went back to that because they knew in the first time when they win the elections, it will not work. So the people always punish them to say, but you said when you started your government that you're going to give us land, blah, 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 and all the type of rubbish nonsense. So they went back to that story, dusted off, and then they pushed that narrative through, which they know it will be done and dusted in an instant, the whole entire economy. That is what happened when liberation governments comes to that point of desperation or at that crossroads. So South Africans, we are on that crossroads. One thing for sure, we can't take more debt because the borrowers that normally borrow money to South Africa don't want to borrow money anymore. That's why we went to the IMF. So the things that they will use is, one is the land, two is the pension funds, and then the last one is the Reserve Bank. So we know they can't take all three of those because history shows whatever they do with the Reserve Bank pensions and with the land will end up in tears, in corruption. Land prices will devalue, property prices will devalue, people's going to leave the country, farmers is not going to be able to farm because they need their land and it's no longer theirs, so it's finished, it's done and dusted. So it's all we make the right decision now and correct, as the words say, the correction, correct this whole entire story. Because if not, we will not see the forecast that I have now on the show of 6 rand to the US dollar. It's highly possible that we can do it. It's highly, highly possible. Maybe 2024 is a bit too far. We can actually, what history shows, with the plan that I have in my mind and which I will explain, if we do it that way, it can actually go much faster as what I actually saw in other parts of the world. But obviously what I know, most of investors outside and inside the country will first look for evidence if things go as what you say it will produce. Because if not, they will sit on the fence the whole time and wait for you to actually to do the right things. But South Africans need to be very, very serious with the story at this particular point in time because we are at the crossroads. If we don't get it right now, you can kiss this country goodbye and leave. So it's all we do it right now, or we actually forever be in shame. But as I said in the ultimate depression, South Africa can become the next superpower in an instant. It all depends as you, as South Africans, not the South African government. It depends as you, the people, you and I, if we're going to make this thing work, or we're going to bow down in shame. I'll just take a short break, and then I'll be back with you.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, When you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but oh, you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum is a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use Gold5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Good morning and welcome to Bull Market Talk Show. This is your host, Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually the South African rand with the $1 to actually to 6 rand. Although that looks totally impossible now, because obviously if you look at the problems of South Africa, it is quite enormous. It is very, very scary. I was doing actually some research yesterday, and then when I look. If you look at business confidence, for example, it is actually at its lowest. Although it actually crept up yesterday to where actually pre-lockdown levels, but it's still on the lowest. The business confidence is still on the lowest trajectory in 40 years, not in 40 years, I think maybe in 50 years. It's actually on its lowest level ever. I actually was screening the graph and I looked at 1960, 1940. It looks terrible. The business confidence is actually at the lowest level that I could see. But business confidence is dead. Consumer confidence is terrible. Our business competitiveness actually lost so much ground. For example, South Africa was at its lowest was at 32 out of actually 190 countries. Today it sits at 84. So that is actually by doing business in South Africa, how difficult it is to do business in South Africa. So that is the index that is being calculated there. So in 2008, obviously that was now the time of the Thabo Mbeki, and then we had the recession afterwards. But during that time, of the Thabo Mbeki era, after the recession, 2009 it actually went up to 34, and then it came back to 32 in 2010 because obviously we had the Soccer World Cup. After that, after the Zuma era, it just went through the roof. Business has just become difficult to make, and it's not that load shedding started yesterday. South Africa is sitting long with load shedding, even from 2000, I think it's 2009 there around. So even with the load shedding story, South Africa still had very good, still good numbers of doing business in South Africa, because obviously entrepreneurs always look for a solution for everything. So the thing is, doing business in South Africa deteriorated so heavily that it looks like it's a point of no return. Consumer confidence, I don't even want to get there, because if you look at the disposable income of South Africa, it's really not so bad. But obviously the wages are coming down steeply. Our debt is really not so bad. Consumer debt or household debt, if I may say, is about 72% of total income. Now, it's much better than 2008 because it was at 90% of income. So South Africa, I must say, with the regulation that we have, with tightening regulation with higher interest rates for the last few years, it's only this year there is low interest rates. So, but I see there was an uprise in consumer debt, but it's still sitting at around 73 there around. So that is actually okay. But if you look at the debt that South Africa is carrying in, our national debt, it's sitting at about 4 trillion rands, and it's been counting. If you look at that debt clock, it's just been ticking and ticking and ticking. So the problems is enormous what this country is facing. The country is definitely in a depression. And then we have the biggest problem, as I just said earlier, or I will not say the biggest problems, but it's one of the pack of problems. Then we have this huge number of unemployment, which is still not out yet because obviously the statisticians have been quite difficult to calculate. But it's definitely maybe sitting at 40, 50, or even 60% unemployment. And then one thing that I would normally like to check is the money velocity. I don't know why did I actually calculated that yesterday. I just shouldn't have do it. But it shows the money that circulates in the economy, how fast the money is actually moving. Obviously, if the ratio it's up, it means that there's fast moving of money, which is good for the economy. It means there's a demand and the money is floating around. So that is actually a very good thing. And then I actually look at the money philosophy. It's actually a simple calculation where you look at the money supply of the country, and then you look at the GDP or the output that we produce in this country, and then you divide the two. Obviously, there's more things that goes into it, and then it got to zero, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Look, that number is not supposed to be zero, not even 1. And not even 2. It's supposed to be a bit higher up. But obviously we have a lockdown, so obviously the money velocity didn't move because obviously the shops were closed and we couldn't move, and it was a very hard lockdown that South Africa had. But the money supply of South Africa, the M1, that is what I know. Most economists look at M1. The money supply that is in the banks, which is now the deposits and all of those things that are there, the money supply actually increased. So there is money at the banks, but the problem is, what is the use you have all that money supply when the vast majority of South Africans is actually losing their houses, their assets now, and we're just getting poorer. Now, to have a good indication on how people are getting poorer, it's actually known as your GDP per capita, where they take the GDP number and you divide it by the population size, and currently, if you look at trading economics, it's at 7,100 US dollars. That is now per capita. That is now for each person, the output that the country produced. So if you take that and if you look at by the end of the year, if you look at that trajectory, the graph is actually steeply coming down. So it just shows that South Africans are getting actually poorer at a very alarming rate. So honestly speaking, I don't know for what reason is that heavy deposits in the bank, which I know the Reserve Bank needed to do it to try and hold the financial system together. But for us to borrow that money, or for a lot of people to borrow that money, it is a dream. It is a dream. Because how the hell are you going to borrow the money? We are not credit worthy. On top of that, you are losing your assets, your houses and your car, or you're selling it because you are cash strapped. You need to survive in this time of in this period. So obviously that money that sits there will just sit there. So that is the big problems that South Africa is facing. So when you have no entrepreneurs, obviously you can't create the jobs. That is impossible. Now, what about foreign investment? Now that looks like a myth also, because who the hell is going to invest in a country where you have competitiveness or doing business in a country at 84 out of 190 people? So obviously that is a no-go show, unless someone is really brave to come to South Africa. And you know what? Investors normally don't like the idea of they know the work of doing business is already hard. Now you have to sit with all the regulation in the world in South Africa before you can start your business. And then you have to negotiate with unions and all that type of nonsense. And it's very funny. All of the people that complain against South Africa, not just foreign investors, but South Africans inside, one of the key words that come up is actually the labor laws in South Africa. Crime is the other one in South Africa. And obviously you have the government corruption. Those are the things that actually normally comes up. The regulation of starting a business in South Africa, and also just to employ someone. Once you employ someone, oh my gosh, it looks like you're sitting with a baby for the rest of your life. That is what you are basically doing. Because once you take that person, that if the person is not doing the job properly, you can't fire the person. It costs you more to fire a person. So that's why you have so many labor brokers in South Africa. And that is, everybody's against labor brokers. I myself against labor brokers. But nobody wants to employ people because it's too expensive and it's too much time consuming to employ someone. If the person is working shit, then you can just fire the person. But you can't. You have to go to the CCMA, the entrepreneur needs to be there, and it costs you money because you need to hire lawyers. So at the end, you sit with this useless person in your company who's draining the resources of your company, and you can't fire the person. And on top of that, you need to pay this person obviously a high salary, because if you don't, it just take easier posts on Instagram or social media. Yeah, the entrepreneur is not paying my money, blah, blah, blah. And oh gosh, there your business getting punished unnecessarily. But the person is not blaming him or herself for their own stupidity of not doing the job. So the thing is, in South Africa, to start a business, to do business in South Africa, it is literally a problem due to all this regulation. Then you have minimum wages and stuff. And then on top of that, South Africa's saving rate, the personal saving rate, is literally below zero. South Africans are not saving. So the stimulating part of the country, it's a no-go show. It's a no-go show. We can't stimulate the economy because the money is not there in the savings ratio. The government can't borrow money because nobody wants to borrow money because they're just stealing and looting the money. Now, what is the best way to cover this kind of country? It's definitely now. It's not coming from government. It can't come from government. We can only switch the government, but that is also a problem. The concept of South Africa, which I don't know, is once you talk capitalism in South Africa, then it is a story of you are greedy. It's always a greedy story and all this type of nonsense. And always they bring up the story of the United States. Now, I always tell people that, well, you can blame the United States. The United States is still the strongest economy in the world. It's like Mayweather. Mayweather moored everybody. Everybody. Nobody can fight him. And that's why he can talk so arrogantly. Because nobody can beat him. The same applies to the United States. They can become arrogant because they achieved it. If you achieved fuck all, you must shut up. And that is the beauty of capitalism. You allow people to start a business, to do what you need to do, and you shut up. As simple as that. But there's always a story about greed, and especially about policies of South Africa. It's always the story that no, the poor needs to gain the larger chunk of the economy. Now you tell me, where the hell did that policies ever work in South Africa or in the world? Where? Nowhere. You have pro-black policies in South Africa. Besides South Africa, where else did it work? It did not work in the United States. It did not work, and that is what in the era of Lyndon Johnson is somehow planned against poverty. It did not work. Nowhere in the world did it work. Affirmative action, nowhere in the world did it work. South Africa went to the extreme with BEE. It did not work either. It's an illusion. Now, if you talk about capitalism, everybody comes to the point and say, no, it's greedy and all of those things. Who the hell is greedy? If you want land for free, are you not greedy? If you want a job just because you are the perfect skin color, are you not greedy? You don't take the skills. You don't take skills in consideration. You're taking your skin color in consideration. Is that not greedy? Because if you have the skills to do the job, and don't tell me on the job you're going to learn. That's absolutely nonsense and bullshit. You have to start at the bottom to get yourself up. There's nowhere in hell that you can just get money out of the air like the lotto. That's why there's a show called We Blew It, or You Blew It, or whatever the show's name is. Because every time people receive money, you will blow it up. Because if you don't work for it, there is nowhere in hell you will understand it. It's like starting a business. You just received the business. You don't know how the bloody business functions. I don't know when will it come to that point where South Africans will understand. It has nothing to do with fucking race. Nothing. I don't know when. You need to have the skills to do the job. It's a very simple philosophy. But in South Africa, it's more to do with skin color. The person that's in charge, you know what? We have the Reserve Bank that is black. A black chairman. You have the president is black. The whole country is black. The majority of South Africans don't benefit. And then they say, obviously, no, it's white monopoly capital that pulls the strings. Jesus Christ. You know what? The same problem is in London, in the UK. Poverty rate is increasing because everybody, there's a large chunk of people, even a lot of South Africans that go there and work there. They say the English people themselves who are poor, and the vast majority of them are English people born and bred in England, and they are the ones who don't want to fucking do the job. And they are complaining about the foreigners that come in and taking their jobs. The problem is you don't want to fucking work. You don't have the skills. And in South Africa, if it's not the foreigners, then it is white monopoly capital. If it's not the white monopoly capital, then it's corruption. And you can blame whoever you like. The problem is you don't have the efficient skills and the efficient skills to do the job. That is the first point. Regardless of of what is your hair texture, of how do you look, that has fuck all to do with your skills. You need to face the reality. You can pinpoint everybody. Like one guy was telling me on Facebook. He said, no, we need to address the land story. I asked him, what are you going to do with the land? He said, you will see when I get the land. Oh, Jesus. Then I stopped the conversation just there. Because I know now he's talking absolutely fucking nonsense. The problem with South Africa is, the problem of South Africa is enormous. But the solution is extremely simple. But if we have this ideology of we need to get something to get out of poverty, that is now absolutely a bullshit ideology. It will not work like that. It will definitely not work. It was tried before in South Africa. Currently, we are still trying it. And that's why the market is in a correction to say it needs to rectify itself. There needs to be a correction. It can't go on like this. Now, if you still want to apply the same shit for the last 25 years, then we will be nowhere to go in this country. Absolutely nowhere. We will just have to leave this country, which already a lot of South Africans left already. We are at the point of correction. I don't know how blind can you are. Affirmative action was tried. BE was tried. All of that shit policies was tried. The heavy labor laws was tried. It did not work. It suffocated the economy. Can you wake up and smell the coffee? It does not work. That's why we are in correction territory. We are at the crossroads. Now, if you think you're going to still play with this race-monger nonsense, it will not fucking work. Get it in your fucking skull. The only thing that fuck up this country is actually the politicians. They are the main people that mess up everything. As Milton Friedman says so nice, if you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years there will be a shortage of sand. If you don't understand that narrative, then I don't fucking know. I will just take a short break and then I'll be back.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Ted Turner. Success leaves clues, kids. I just named 5 of the greatest names in business in the last 150 years. And they all have one thing in common. They're ball busters. They're hard as nails. Where does that leave you? I still work 50, 60 hours a week. And I haven't had to work in 35 years. You're not willing to do anything. You're not willing to sacrifice anything to be a high-performance person.
I don't want to be like Dad.
No, most people don't.
I want to be liked.
Yeah, well, see, you want to fit in. I'm the only speaker that you're ever going to hear that really, with all his heart, doesn't give a shit. If I leave here you liking me, I did something wrong.
Do you remember them days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you thought you wasn't going to endure that one? Do you know that your survival rate for every last one of them bad days is 100%? Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. That's a fact. Your track record, you batting 1,000. You'd have survived every funky day you ever had. You survived every hater. You survived all the evictions. You survived the firings. You survived all the tell you no, we ain't hiring. You survived all the trouble you ever been in. Your survival rate is 100%. 100%.
Getting your business funded is a lengthy process with the banks, and it can take weeks before getting an answer. ProfitFX works with the best in the finance industry to bring you an unrivaled business funding solution for South African businesses. Our funding partners have funded millions in the last year in support of growing your business and our economy. Get in touch with your talk show host to request more information. A trade history of 3 years or more and an annual turnover of 1 million rand or more is required. Terms and conditions apply.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Welcome back to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host, Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually where South African Rand can trade at about $1 can actually trade at about 6 Rand. The dollar can trade 6 6 rand against the US dollar. So basically, that what I actually wanted to say with that is South African economy can actually grow extremely fast over the next few years because of this correction. As I explained in my book, In the Ultimate Depression, that South Africa is actually the next powerhouse. Now, the reason why I say that and why I explain that in the book is because if you look at the United States and if you look at Europe and Asia, the whole entire Northern Hemisphere, they're sitting with a massive aging population there, and it's increasing, and the life expenses is like it's actually increasing, and people can live longer in that country. So in those different countries, and obviously, if you have an aging population, then you will normally have slow growth. So they can push all stimulus in that economy as they want. They will get absolutely nothing out. So obviously you will get investors that needs to put the money somewhere. Somewhere they need to store that money, or not say store, but also let it work at the same time. Now obviously if you look at South Africa has basically all the ingredients necessary, all the ingredients to actually becoming the next superpower. Every single thing to the T South Africa has. And you know what, I actually don't even have to explain that. But just to give you actually a brief. So the one thing that we know for sure, South Africa's mineral wealth is enormous. There's even still stuff that's still not even discovered. Like, for example, there's something that I track normally. It's known as your bushveld geologist that goes into the bushveld and then go dig up your platinum and you have your chromite. It's a lot of resources that they normally dig out. These areas is normally Limpopo, Mpumalanga, the northwest, your Gauteng province, with all this mineral wealth that is sitting there. And South African mineral wealth is sitting at about 20 trillion rand, which is approximately about, can say roughly about between 3 and 4 trillion US dollars that sits there, and basically untapped. It still needs to actually go and work. Platinum is in overabundance here in South Africa. You have chromite that is sitting here, iron ore, everything that is here. We even have oil in this country. We have literally every single thing to become the next powerhouse. Everything. But somehow, somewhere, we have the best leaders who fuck up this country left, right, and center. It's a shame for South Africans to fight over who the hell is black and white if you just have to work the economy. That's it. That's all that we need to do. Now, if I look back, when I come to the whole thing of the title, where I say actually that $1 will be actually at about 6 rand. And if I look at the United States, and I went back, obviously they have quite a lot of history in the free market world. And if I look at the worst depression in the United States, which is known as the Forgotten Depression, which is, I think the president at that time was Harding. And if you look before that, and if you go on and on, it took approximately 2 years for the economy to recover to full capacity. And actually doing better of how it was before. Like if you look at Warren Harding, if I take that, the Forgotten Depression, he did absolutely nothing. Only thing that he did, a few things that he did, is to deregulate the economy, pay the debt back, and he paid actually quite a large chunk of the debt back. The unemployment rate was around double digits. It came back to 2%. It took them 2 years to rebuild that economy. Now there's a lot of things that goes with it. One, obviously, when you have a recession, you have low wages, you have high unemployment, which go hand in hand, and you have GDP that is down. You have people are becoming desperate to work and to start businesses. So what he did, and what all his predecessors did, is allow the people to discover their own world. Just do. You are hungry, so get yourself out of it. As easy as that. where the world came with the story that governments needs to stimulate the economy. That is the most rubbish idea ever. For South Africa to recover this economy will take maybe 2024 is too long. It can take about 3 years for this economy to recover, to get actually unemployment down, maybe to cut it in half where it is now, and maybe at 30%. That is now based on the statistics. So it's 30%. They can maybe cut the unemployment rate in half in approximately 2 years. It will actually become better as what Thabo Mbeki. If you just deregulate the economy, your all that money that sits now there in your European countries and in America, because all the money, the people are hoarding the money now because they can't put the money anywhere. So they're hoarding the money. It's sitting dead still. If you look at the money velocity in the United States and Europe and all of these countries, the money is just sitting. South Africa here is worried about who's black and about hair. So that money, with all that skills and entrepreneurship, would flood South Africa in an instant. Only thing that you need to do is to deregulate the economy. Scrap all these unnecessary labor laws that keep this country back. Scrap all these business laws that comes in with BEE and all this type of rubbish. It is so bloody simple. And it's not that South Africans doesn't know it. But this economy will recover in an instant if you just do that. Although, yes, there will be people that will sit on the fence maybe for the year or so. But once things are moving, they're all going to jump in because they don't want to miss the bus. And obviously what I know with entrepreneurs, they want to go in at a good price and at a good time. So the thing with the book that I actually said is that in an instant this economy will recover. And we will become the next super powerhouse. It depends on you. If you want to choose race over economic growth and prosperity. If you want to choose hair over your own prosperity. If you want to hold the economy and everybody in the world hostage, or not in the world, but in South Africa. If you want to hold this people or this great nation hostage about whatever happened in your past, which we can't reverse. If you want to keep us all hostage, then fuck off, as simple as that. Because South Africans wants to build this economy. We're all standing ready to invest whatever, not money, but whatever good brain intention or intelligence that we have to build this economy and make it strong. Whether it's in sports, whether it's in arts and culture, whether it's in mining and manufacturing, we all want to do something. There's nowhere in hell that everybody wants to sit at home. No, that is not possible. Everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to make his name proud and make his family proud and all things that goes with it to become a South African. But you can't go on like this, not understanding what is your responsibility as a citizen. You can't, I don't know how we're going to get to that point of not understanding that you can't receive things for free. You can't receive land for free. You can't receive electricity for free. You're keeping other people hostage that wants to actually to do something or to contribute to the country. What amazed me is that they just want to have the land. What did you ever ask yourself, do you have the skills to work that land? Do you even have skills to build actually a house on that piece of land? And what the hell are you going to do with it? We can't go on like this. This economy can literally grow in an instant. With all the mineral wealth, there's a lot of countries that wish for the amount of youth that we have, the amount of mineral wealth that we have, but somehow South Africans have the best thing to fight over, and that is race. I always say that is the only thing that killed this country is race And the other one is this socialist communist ideology that we want. A government can't look after you. I don't know how many times must the government steal for you to realize that the government can't look after you. Everybody in this country, all over the world, that is just human nature. We all have our own interest at heart. So whoever is in power have his interest and his family interest at heart. You will take away everything from you so that his wife and his children and his friends and family eat. That is how the human behave. Everybody has their own interest at heart. So if you give a government too much power, they will take their own interest, which is now the ANC. They will look after their own interest. So if you give them less power, the better it will be. Whether it is Johan Rupert who is the president or whoever that is, you can't give them so much power. Because once they have so much power, they will only serve their own interest. If you start your own business, that is your prerogative. Because you service your own interest. I don't have a problem with that. If I start my business, I will take my family's interest at heart and myself. Because that is just how humans behave. To give a government, or say for example, I'm the president, you give me all that power, the possibility that you will get corruption is high. So when we're going to start to realize that we as the people that fight over race and hair and all this type of shit is literally keep us all hostage by literally building this country to prosperity. 6 rand to the US dollar, it maybe sounds like a myth. But the reason why it is a myth is because we as South Africans is literally holding this country hostage. I don't know when, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying that we can build this country together. We can have this nation or nation building. But then you have people that are like on my Facebook page that fight over race. It just can't continue like this. Let it sink in that South Africa can grow in the next 2 years rapidly fast, cut unemployment in half, get GDP to about close to 8 to 10% year on year. It's very, very easy with all the mineral wealth and people and youth that we have in this country. It's very, very easy. But it's all up to you. Thank you for listening. See you guys again tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use GOLD5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.